Hi everyone, my name is Dan and this very important training video is brought to you by Mountain West Asset Protection Services. What you will learn today in this video is how to pass the 7 Medicaid test. So let's get started. Test 1, Sickness. Now a doctor has to certify you really are sick enough to need nursing home care. I find this funny because can you imagine anyone going to a nursing home for a vacation? Test 2, Age. You have to be 65 years or older or legally blind or disabled according to the Social Security standards. Test 3, Citizenship. You must be a citizen of the United States or, in some cases, a holder of a green card. Test 4, Residence. This test illustrates why so many people have trouble understanding Medicaid law. To be eligible for Medicaid, you have to be a resident of the state in which you apply. But if you're in a nursing home in one state, you are automatically a resident of that state even if you live elsewhere or vote elsewhere. Test 5, Income. The income test is a little tricky because each state has its own rules. But don't worry because there's a special income trust that can be used to qualify for Idaho Medicaid if your income is above the federal maximum limit. Using this type of legal instrument, you simply deposit income directly into the trust, and in that way the income really isn't yours anymore because it belongs to the trust. And because you now have very low income that falls below the maximum allowable limit, you are eligible for Medicaid. Now, in the spirit of full disclosure, of course, the trust has to turn over its income to the nursing home every single month, and it has to give the state whatever's left inside the trust when the one getting the benefit, which is the sick person, passes away. But remember, it's always better to get Medicaid than to not get it at all. Test 6, Assets. There are several hundred possible combinations of the asset rules, but don't worry, I'll mention just a few of the most important ones now. Most people think you have to be broke before you can get Medicaid, that you can't even keep your house. Now, isn't that what you may have thought before today? Well, this is what the Idaho rules actually say. You can't get Medicaid if your countable assets are more than $2,000. I repeat, you can't get Medicaid if your countable assets are more than $2,000. Well, that pretty much sounds like you have to be pretty darn close to broke, doesn't it? But you don't have to go broke, and it's all because of one little word. Did you catch it? The word is countable, and it simply means that when Medicaid is counting up your assets to see whether you have more than $2,000, some assets count and some assets don't count. Right about now, you're probably thinking you understand why everybody says Medicaid is so complicated and hard to deal with. Well, not so fast because the madness has just begun. To begin with, some assets never ever count, and let's take a look at those assets now. Clothing, furniture, and jewelry never count. Your house and your car, they are exempt as well and do not count while you're alive. However, in a marital case, upon the passing of both mom and dad, the full value of the house and the car is available for what's known as Idaho Medicaid Recovery. Test 7, Compliance. In effect, you can go from having lots of countable assets to having less than $2,000 worth of countable assets and therefore qualify for Medicaid, but only if they approve of the way you went about going broke. The biggest no-no is giving away what you have so you now satisfy the other 6 tests. Just imagine you're sick and you're tired and you're old and you're a citizen and you live in a nursing home in Idaho. Let's say your income is $1,000 from Social Security and you have an IRA worth $100,000 and just $2,000 in your savings account. The IRA is a countable asset, so you can't get Medicaid. So you figure if you don't have the IRA as an asset, it'll be low enough for you to qualify for Medicaid benefits. So you just give it away, leaving you with $2,000 worth of countable assets. Now you pass all 6 tests and you become eligible for Medicaid, right? Well, hold on a minute. You do pass all 6 tests, that's for sure. but you still don't get Medicaid because they don't approve of the way you got yourself broke. Now, there are ways to shelter the money and still get Medicaid, even do some gifting if it's done right. First, you could make a gift, wait 60 months, and then apply for Medicaid. That 60 months is what's known as the look-back period, which is the time period during which Medicaid is allowed to examine your gifts, and that's all it really is. Then, after Medicaid determines that a gift was made during the look-back period, and only then, Medicaid is allowed to look at the gift to decide if there ought to be a penalty for making the gift. The amount of the penalty for gifts that are penalized, meaning the number of months Medicaid won't pay, is computed by a very complicated formula. So what are the results? Well, the rule says that you start serving your time like in the penalty box at an ice hockey game when you are otherwise eligible for Medicaid benefits but for the gifting period. Okay, so what's all that mean? Well, this is probably the most confusing part of all the Medicaid rules, so let's just keep it simple for now and remember this. If you gift, you will most likely cause a penalty period, but the penalty period begins once you file an application for Medicaid benefits, and not the date that you made the gift. So would you like to learn how to qualify for Idaho Medicaid? Then send for our free report called Medicaid Secrets Revealed. This 22-page report exposes the truth about how to qualify for nursing home benefits without spending down your life savings or subjecting your home to Idaho Medicaid recovery. To get your report, go to mountainwestassetprotectionservices.com or give us a call at area code 208-429-1798. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon.